Look, big trade today. Juan Soto goes to the Padres, Rob. I was thinking, you know what I was thinking? And obviously the Dodgers are a fantastic team. But I was just thinking about how, as great as this trade is, they get Tatis Jr. back in maybe about 2 weeks. So that'll be, because he's been out all year, that's almost like, a big trade addition, right?
Yep.
And so they're adding these two phenomenal players, but they're better, obviously. But it's still just so difficult to win a World Series in baseball. And so often the best team doesn't win it that, it's still a really good chance they don't win it. And I was thinking, I love the playoffs. I think, unlike you, I like playoff expansion. I like more teams in it.
I don't want every team in, though. I don't want the regular season to be diminished.
An overstatement. But yeah, I like a lot of teams. Not obviously not every team, but I think playoff baseball to me is the best baseball when the stakes are high and all that. And I was thinking, Rob, we talked about how back in the day, there was one winner of each league at the end of the regular season, and that team played in a World Series. And that, Rob, I think, while I preferred the playoff system, I think that's a better way of determining who the best team is. Like, if it was just best team in the American League with the best record, team with the best record in the National League, and they play each other, I think more often than not, you would get the best team winning. Because I think generally the team with the best record, over 162 games is a lot of games.
Right.
Is the best team. But that obviously doesn't mean they're going to win the World Series. In most cases, they don't. You understand what I'm saying on that?
Yeah, I do get that.
I don't want to go to that, believe me. I'm just saying that would be the best way to determine the best team.
Right. But I was against the wild card, and I get it now, Chris, and I'm on board. Excuse me. And I see how it works out. But I don't want I don't want baseball to become where we're just waiting for the postseason. Like if you put too many teams in, do you see what I'm saying? Where it'd be like,
I hear you.
Well, I know the Yankees are going to make the playoffs, and I know the Dodgers are going to make the playoffs, and I know, like, you could pick out 10 teams every year and go, well, I know they're going to make it. I don't have to go to every game. And I think I've been watching, and Chris, you know this. Baseball is like a soap opera. It's every day, and you kind of when your team is playing great, you want to kind of follow the story throughout the entire season. But I don't want it to be cut down to where we're only interested in playoffs. That's a little bit of the problem with the NBA now, is that I used to watch every game from the start of the season, like every single game, and now people start watching after Christmas.
Every single game.
No, I did. I'm talking about like wherever city I was in.
Of your team. Right,
yeah, whatever
right,
city
right.
I was in. I'm just saying, I couldn't watch. I meant if I was working in New York, I would watch. It
wasn't like in the 80s and 90s a lot of teams weren't making the playoffs.
What? No.
A lot of teams were making the playoffs back then, too.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying, and now, but the difference is now the focus is all on the postseason, is what I'm saying. The focus. Not that the things have changed, but now people are like, well, we got to wait for the playoffs. It's like all about the playoffs, and I like the idea of the regular season matter.
I think that's a great point in that I think your ultimate point is a good one. But I do agree that for whatever reason, well, I'm going to give you a reason, and I'll be interested in your thoughts on it. But you're right. I mean, the NBA has, unfortunately, become, even with the players, Rob, and that's why you got the load management.
Right. Like, I'm not going to burn myself out. I'm going to be ready for the playoff. And I'm like, what?
It is all about the playoffs. I think the media, because we focus on it so much, rings, he averaged 30. They won 58 games, but so what? Right. He didn't win in the finals, win the championship. So I think that's just created that atmosphere. But I'm going to say this. I think this is a big part of why. And Rob, I'm going to say this. When I was back at the old network, right, we were all on First Take and we go against Skip. I remember, I feel like it was in October, maybe it was September, but it was either September or October. And this was early in the 2010s.
Okay.
And we're talking, baseball is in the pennant race. And, it might even been the playoffs at that time. But it was September, October. And we weren't talking any of it. And we were focusing on week 4, whatever it was, of the NFL season. And I was like, why are we treating baseball like it's hockey and not talking about it? And as you know, Rob, now, whether it's national television shows, especially, but also most national radio shows, don't talk baseball. If they talk any, it's a very small amount. We've said it. We talk more than most, and we don't talk a ton. And I think that is a part of why as well, because I do feel like, Rob, if we talked more baseball, we would also be focused on, the Yankees look great, but we've seen this before. So what if they break the regular season record and they win 121 games? What are they going to do in the play? You know what I mean? Haven't won it since 2009. This means nothing. Like, I think those storylines, because I'm here in New York where you know this, they do talk baseball. I think local stations talk it.
No,
and that's what they're talking about.
Right.
New York, nobody's enjoying it. It's just
and
So you see what I'm saying?
I work in LA on the Dodgers station, right? Locally. And all we talk about is the Dodgers and the Lakers. Like locally. But it's the Dodger station. And people out here in different cities, Chris, and this when Mike and the Mad Dog were a big radio show in New York.
Right.
They would talk about a Yankee game for 3 hours.
It was
am I right, Chris?
Now they took a ton of calls, but
but
it was all baseball. Right?
It was the whole game.
I used to contend all they talk is Giants and baseball.
Right, that was it, because they didn't talk
so
as much NBA,
a little bit,
a little bit, but they didn't talk anything else. You're right. It was, and so people get into that. But I get your point.
Do you agree with what I'm saying though?
Yeah,
because
I get it.
Right?
Because but I also believe that what's happened to in our business is people have eliminated stuff to make their lives easier. And even when talking about the NBA, I'm not sure people on national shows or national radio shows, Chris, really talk about the NBA. They talk about the same 4 or 5 elements of people in the NBA, but the Memphis could have a great playoff win and won't see air like anything about what happened in that game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd say that because obviously now they have Ja Morant and playoffs is different.
But you know what I'm saying, though.
But you're right. Like when I was even back at the old network, and I'm supposed to go on SportsCenter and give, like what's going on around the NBA. They only wanted a certain handful of teams or players, right?
Right.
And unless it was something crazy going on in Utah or Sacramento.
We used to joke all the time.
It had to be nuts.
We used to always say, both of us, like we knew when they called us to do certain things on TV what it would be. Like,
no, and you're right. I mean, the shows, you're going to talk LeBron, Durant, Kyrie, Steph, Ja now, Zion. Like you're only, they call it playing the hits, right?
Right.
You're only talking a certain group of players, a certain group of teams, unless it's something incredibly unordinary.
And that's what. So it's been shrunk down to a handful of things.
Right.
And if your team is not in that, or one of your players, Chris, you won't hear about them. It's nationally. You will not hear about them.
True.
Even football. It's the Cowboys they haven't gone to the NFC Championship game in 25 years, and they get more airtime than anybody.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And you saw they're the American
value-wise,
sports franchise that's got the greatest value.